Alright guys, TacticalRab here again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Some juicy drama emerging between Toronto and the Seattle Surge over the past 24 hours, with neither team coming to an agreement in scrims last night of which side they would spawn in on. As a result, they decided, you know what, I've had enough of these guys, I'm going to chalk off the scrims. What is going on? Why are these guys so unprofessional? But also, what does this mean for the rest of the stage for both of these teams, especially with Toronto needing to improve quickly and maybe not quite getting the practice that they need for various reasons? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, quick update on Doug here. Nice little 4 PC pops last night. They did end up losing this series though to Yeez and Co. But yeah, here comes Doug 1, 2, 3 and pops the 4 Ps as well. Expo Control might be Doug sent to Martin's map. Nice little clip from him. And yeah, they did lose this series 2-3 though. Placed top 6 in the Elite Season 3. So not the ideal result for the Boston Breach Academy there. Of course, Johnny came in and he does say here for filling in for him. So you know, I don't know whether Johnny, he might well be gone because we know that Doug and Johnny, like, they never get on in the past. For some reason, Johnny came into this team. We never really understood why. Okay, well, they lost Kremp right to their starting roster on the Boston guy, so they needed a replacement, but it didn't feel like Johnny was, I don't know, the chemistry, I don't know if that was actually ever going to work. So as he mentions, filling in for us kind of implies that at some point soon there's going to be another SMG player there instead of Johnny, so potential roster changes to come there for the Boston Breach Academy. Speaking of Doug, though, there's also the showcase April the 13th, which is actually today. It might well be going on, already has gone on by the time this video goes live. The XDefiant showcase, obviously X talks about this game a lot because he actually works on it, and I think they did this quite a while ago now, so I'm guessing they're just going to show off what the game's going to look like from a competitive perspective, and we'll see. Maybe some of these guys, after they decide to retire, want to go another route, kind of like how it's been in other games where people retire from one game that's more competitive, and then go to, you know, let's just say you retire from the Premier League in football, you might go over to the MLS, or in the NBA, for example, you might go and learn Chinese buddy. So, you know, maybe a similar story developing here with XDefiant. Wanted to mention, though, in terms of practice, Atlanta FaZe, look at these numbers here. These are since the start of Stage 3, so the Stage 3, Major 3 qualifiers, plus Major 3, plus the Major 4 qualifiers so far. These are the hardpoint records of the various teams against the top 8 teams on CDL points. So, no Vegas, no Florida, no LA Guerrillas, no London, right? So, the worst 4 teams by the numbers, this is excluding them, and it's the record against the others. Texas 13-5, Thieves 8-5, Toronto 10-8. So pretty respectable numbers. The one that I was impressed by actually is Vegas 7-6 they are. If they could just win some controls, man, because their Search and Destroy is good and they're positive in respawns against the top 8 teams. Somehow, I mean, they seem to lose their respawns to the worst teams in the league, but they do play at a good level in hardpoint against the top teams in the league, which is impressive stuff, but they just can't win a control and it really holds them back. Surge are 5-7, Subliners 5-8, then we get Minnesota, and even Florida and London have a higher percentage win rate than FaZe do. Like, this is borderline embarrassing for FaZe. To have Simp, Cellium, aBeZy on your team, and Slasher as well, one-time world champion, and for your team to be this bad in hardpoint against the top teams. Now, Shotzzy, I know, has said that FaZe are actually quite good in hardpoint in practice, but they just don't seem to be able to translate it. And in the most recent map they played, Cellium had like 2 minutes in Hill, was double positive, and Simp was going off and looks like prime Simp again, which we haven't really seen with him being the Hill kitten. So maybe they have found a way to finally turn a corner in this mode, but still these numbers are absurd, right? The only team worse is LAG that are terrible in hardpoint. They're 4-11 for FaZe against the top 8 teams. I mean, that's just straight up embarrassing, and they've been getting carried hard by their Search and Destroy, of course, but that isn't going to last forever, so this needs to improve and fast, and translating practice into real matches and all that stuff is going to be critical behind it. But another team that needs to improve quickly is the Toronto Ultra, of course. Major 3 champs to thin ice, say the breakdown guys the other day, saying they are on the verge of dropping out of the championship contenders with the way they've played online so far, and I think that's totally understandable. They were 0-5 in Search and Destroy so far. Yes, they won a series, they lost to FaZe though, and they lost, well, 2 Search and Destroys in both of their series they played against Boston and Surge. So a bad time for Ultra so far. They're still competitive, they're not going to be terrible, but you know, it's not looking good for them, right? And they need to beat Vegas, 100% guarantee they must beat Vegas this Friday, tomorrow, in order to qualify for the winners bracket. And even if they do beat Vegas, possibly tiebreakers might not even go their way because they'll be 2-3 at maximum, so they need to beat Vegas convincingly to guarantee their spot. Now, there has been some drama, obviously expected in that series tomorrow. Scrappy has said we're going to slam them when they play them, so that makes things exciting, as he likes to do. But Scrappy also revealed that last night they were scrimming up against the Seattle guys, who intended to scrim the Seattle guys, and the scrim got cancelled for a very strange reason. Now, Zuma, I know, goes on to say here that he's not exactly surprised that these two teams couldn't come to terms over this, but my understanding is that over the last couple of weeks, Surge's practice hasn't been particularly good, and Toronto, they need all the practice they can get. Do you guys remember after the major, they did that blueprint episode where they talked all this about, oh yeah, we're not going to get complacent, we're going to keep grinding away. Now, we even know from Standy, I don't know, there were some memes about this, that, oh, maybe Standy was right about Toronto, because Standy mentioned at the time that, either Scrappy or the other guys, they weren't taking search and destroy practice that seriously, and, what do you know, they start stage 4 out very poorly in search and destroy. So, Standy, that was his argument at the time, that actually Scrappy was sometimes just kind of trolling in S&D scrims and wasn't taking it 100% serious, and now they have a good chance to scrim a Seattle Surge team that are always going to be pretty competitive in the respawns, and you'd imagine would be pretty good practice partners, but they chalk the scrim and lose all that potential practice and improvement time because they couldn't agree on who was going to start on the good side and who was going to start on the bad side. You can't make up some of the unprofessionalism in this scene.
We all scrim today, Scrap.
Big. Boston, and then we were gonna play Seattle, but they chalked it because we were in a standoff for switching teams.
Again, 24 and 16.
Wait. Like
what?
Wait. Like y'all chalked because they want a good sider?
No, we both wanted Cortac because we've been playing Spectre a lot.
Bro, you guys can't be serious. No, hold on, let me guess.
We both refused to switch
y'all-
Bro, that is those. If I had to guess 2 teams that would happen to, it's you guys, bro.
And then AG calls me, and he's laying in bed already.
Dude, you guys are dumb, bro. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, you guys are nuts for that one, but I respect it. I respect the pettiness.
Bro, Lamar used to say that. Nah, man. We get good side. I'll literally get off right now.
Wow.
Like, what?
I know, that was, we were just waiting for them to switch. We got to stand off.
There's no way, bro. You guys can't be serious, dude.
The level of pettiness is impressive.
That
is insane, bro.
Oh, and I had content from 10 to 2.
That is the mind games going on with the
Hey, that's what I like to hear. Get the boys in some content, Toronto. Come on now.
Hey,
Get him in there.
Every other Tuesday.
Get him in there.
So what Scrappy is mentioning there is like a spec Gru and core tac, right? The two sides. And on certain maps, like one of them is the good side, one of them is the bad side. And having the good side obviously is beneficial. Now, certain teams, they want to practice their breaks from either side, right? So I think maybe the idea was here that Surge wanted to practice their break-offs on the good side. Toronto also wanted to practice their break-off on the good side. And they couldn't come to an agreement on that because both teams wanted to do it. So instead of just saying, all right, whatever, let's just, maybe we won't get to practice the break-off on the good side or the bad side or whatever we wanted to do, but at least we can still play an entire set of scrims up against these guys and maybe, work something out over the course of the series. But there was a standoff between maybe the coaches or between Scrappy and Accuracy on the other side, and they decided to chalk it off, which is like, this is just remarkable, right? And also, why aren't the coaches stepping in here? That's what I don't quite understand. Why are the coaches allowing this to happen? Are the coaches just going to sit there and just look at all this pettiness and decide, all right, yeah, fair enough, screw those guys, let's just chalk it off for the day? And even as Scrappy said, the fact that AG or Pred was in bed, right, this guy had already chalked it off and it was decided that, not going to do a second set today. So, it just makes you wonder, actually, because the top teams and the guys that are really going to be consistent over time, they're putting in the time day in, day out. I know that Slasher, for example, on FaZe, yes, their numbers aren't looking so good in hardpoints, but he has definitely been an important factor for them in leveling up their scrims. I believe even, I think it was aBeZy or maybe Cellium said the other day that I think it was Cellium in his post-game interview up against when they played Toronto and they won that series. Cellium said that Slash had brought a kind of more serious demeanor. Accuracy was a kind of less serious, more jokey guy. Slash is a serious guy. I think he's got Cellium going to the gym, like he's got these guys on a routine, and they're locked in. I'm sure Slasher wouldn't just sit there and allow FaZe to miss a set of scrims if it was an important one, whereas apparently this is common practice among other teams. Now, we might go into the major and it might not matter too much. It's one set of scrims at the end of the day. It might not be the biggest deal in the world, but I've got to say it's interesting, right, that Toronto, despite needing all the practice right now, right, these guys are struggling. They haven't looked anywhere near as good, especially Hixie individually has gone from, being a 0.85, 0.9 player on LAN, but that was fine when CleanX was dropping big numbers, to dropping like a 0.8, 0.75 so far. And frankly, despite all the dirty work you might do, that slang is not going to cut it, especially in an online environment. And you need to be good online because you want to qualify for winners, which is far from guaranteed for Toronto as it presently stands. So, yeah, is this just another example of the pettiness in the competitive Call of Duty scene? It's another classic, but surely the coach has got to get on top of this stuff, right? Because there's young guys on these teams, they're going to be immature, they're going to make stupid decisions, but the coaches are meant to control them, no? And command respect to an extent that they can actually tell these guys, look, we're going to do this no matter what. So tweet your thoughts on that in the comment section below. And as I say, these two teams are in need of some help, right? They're in need of some practice. Toronto right now, 8-9 map count, 1-3 series win-loss. So they should be fine, right? After beating what, Florida as they did last time out, 8-9 map count, win-loss. If they just beat Vegas in any fashion, they should, let's say they beat Vegas 3-2, they should be, what, 11-11 map counts, and that should be enough to win the 2-3 tiebreakers that they'll have against probably another team. So Toronto probably just need to win that series and they'll get to winners, but of course if they get to winners in the 8th seed, then they'll probably play OpTic round 1, which is, well, maybe not ideal for OpTic given the history against Ultra, but also not ideal for Ultra given the way that OpTic are presently playing. So, you know, it's more to Ultra than just getting 8. And also Surge, they're 2-1. They haven't been looking spectacular at all. They've been scraping through series. Okay, they got a good Game 5 W against Toronto, but outside of that, Surge have not looked anything spectacular. So, and this is the thing, we're getting into Major 4 qualifiers now. There's Major 4 qualifiers, Major 4, Major 5, and then Champs, right? We're not far away. Like, surely every day of practice and kind of scrims is going to be viable, and losing, you know, an entire set for petty reasons, I just don't see how this is continuing in the COD scene. But maybe it shouldn't be a massive surprise to us all. I did mention briefly earlier today the whole Shotzzy Huke thing, and I just wanted to share the numbers here from Huke's perspective. Been their best player so far this stage, no doubt about it, I think. A 1.14 in hardpoint, a 2.33 in search and destroy, a 1.05 in control, and in terms of kills per 10 minutes, kills per rounds, he's second, first on OpTic right now, which is super impressive stuff, it's got to be said. And also, Huke doesn't make this list though, for obvious reasons, after the chaos that he's gone through individually over the last few years, but these are the only players that have never missed a single qualifier game since they were introduced back in COD. Well, that was when the qualifiers started out. Even Simp, for example, right, and Dashy, I think they've missed one match in the last 3 years, but Dashy because he was dropped for one of them, and Simp because he was unwell for one of them. So Shotzzy, Cell, Arcitys, aBeZy, Envoy, Octane, Priest, and Mack, CleanX, Bance, Awakening, Skies, the only players to have played every single game since they were introduced back in COD War. So it's a pretty exclusive list, it's got to be said. CleanX I thought was worthy of mention because he's been on Toronto all of those years, has played all of their games, and he's won a championship or some sort of championship every season he's been part of Ultra, which is pretty impressive stuff, it's got to be said. Also, nice little throwback to COD history. August the 2nd, 2015, FaZe won at the Summer Championship Gfinity, 50 grand here. So we mentioned the other day that there were some tourneys going on where the first prizes weren't too significant compared to what the players get paid today, but this was that legendary team towards the end of Advanced Warfare with Clay, Attack, Zuma, and Enable. They were so good at the end of that cycle. They were pretty much the only team ever in the Dynasty period for OpTic that can actually consistently get the better of them. This was the team, of course. Put it on the big screen because Attacher looks pretty much the same today as he did back then, despite this being around 8 years ago. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.